One of the biggest sticking points I see in most of my business coaching clients is social media. They don't want to be on it, but they feel like they have to. So they post, they don't get the engagement they want. They get frustrated, blame the algorithm, and give up. Sure, their business is doomed because of it. So in this episode, I'm answering a question that came in from a listener that I think will resonate with anyone that's not loving social media right now and not sure if it's even worth the effort. And that question is, do you have to be on social media to build a business? Let's find out the answer. Hey there, I'm Shawn Mynar, and this is Unstuck Entrepreneur. I'm a former nutritionist who turned a struggling, stressful nutrition practice into a thriving, freedom-filled online business where I work from home in my sweatpants while reaching and helping thousands of people all at the same time. Now I'm obsessed with showing other heart-centered coaches, practitioners, and solopreneurs how to build a business and life they love. Consider this podcast your safe space to learn both the inner work and practical strategies required to build the impactful, profitable business of your dreams. No hustle, grind, or long hours required. That's right, hustle culture, not welcome here. Let's get into today's session. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Unstuck Entrepreneur podcast. So happy to have you here, tuning in, checking out the show, and of course, so grateful for your support. This episode, I'm just going to say it right here, is probably going to be just a social media tangent on so many levels. Who knows where this is going to go, but I love this question. And just based on what I'm hearing from you all, either as a client of mine or just the conversations we're having over on the DMs of Instagram, social media in general is like a sticking point. It's like this thing in a lot of small business owners' worlds that they don't love, especially right now. And I feel like it's just getting worse and worse just with the changes that happen in social media and the environment and the algorithms and all that stuff. There's a lot going on. And so to get this question, I think really summed up what a lot of you all are thinking and wondering and the conversations that I'm having. So I thought I would share it here on the show. And like I said, I will hopefully answer the actual question, but be prepared for this to go in all different directions. I cannot guarantee what is going to come out of this conversation. Let's get to the actual question, which is from Tasha. And she says, "Hi, Shawn. Thanks so much for everything you share in the podcast. It has been so helpful for me as I build my coaching business to keep me in the right headspace and do the right things. One thing I'm struggling with is social media. I just don't want to do it. It feels time consuming and which with such little engagement these days, kind of pointless. Do I have to be on social media for my business to grow?" That came from Tasha, and just as a side note, this came as a direct message in my Instagram over at Shawn Mynar. If you ever have any business questions at all, but even more importantly, a question that you think others might be having too, that I can answer on the podcast, please feel free to send me those messages and I'll either reply directly to you if it's just a specific question for you and your business, or I will let you know that it makes a great episode and that I'll be answering it on the show. So that is always open to you at Shawn Mynar on Instagram. Tasha is not alone. First, Tasha, thank you so much for this question and for, I think, really articulating what a lot of people, kind of almost like business owner or not, what a lot of people are feeling and thinking about social media right now. I think as business owners and as small business owners, solopreneurs, coaches, practitioners, it has even more weight to it because we do wonder, what will happen to my business if I do or don't do social media? Do I need a big following? Is that the only way that I can have this successful business and make the money that I want to make? What will happen if I just quit doing social media entirely? We have this connection between social media and our success and potentially our income, to be even more specific. The money that we're going to make, we have that tied to what is happening on social media. And rightfully so. That is a very known, I say it all the time too, that social media is an amazing marketing tool for your business. If you have not been living under a rock and you have been logged into any social media platforms recently, you can see how people are using it to build their business, to make money, to make sales. You see that happening. And it is an effective way to do that. It is not the only way, of course. Talk about that all the time too here. And with my clients, really important. It shouldn't be the only way, and we'll get into that a little bit more later, but it is definitely one of those things that can be triggering to you and your possibilities for success and your desires because of what you're seeing other people do. And then when it does or does not happen for you, getting into some stories there. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. First and foremost, just so we're all on the same page, when I talk about social media, I'm referring to platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. Clubhouse may or may not still be a thing. Not sure. I feel like that had a short-lived time of popularity, and now I don't hear about it at all. So it may not be there anymore. But anyway, these are the platforms that I am talking about and thinking about when I say social media in general. Everyone has a different platform that they are or are not using that is or is not good for their business, that is or is not where their dream clients are hanging out at. So I don't want to say just Instagram or just TikTok or just Twitter. This is all of them. We can kind of group them all into one. So for you, just figuring out which one or ones that is for you, and kind of thinking about which ones potentially feel better than the others as we have this conversation, which ones maybe you do want to let go of versus which ones you want to keep around, and maybe reinvigorate yourself around those ones one that is feeling better than the others. To directly answer the question that Tasha has about, do you have to be on social media to build your business? Of course, my ultimate, if I only had one word to answer this question, it would be no. Of course not. You don't have to do anything, especially if you're feeling this major resistance towards it. We talked about resistance towards things in your business in the last episode 156, I believe. Please go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. It very much ties in with our conversation that we're having today. Really good to listen to them both together, and you will have a lot of clarity around what you need to be doing in terms of social media. So keeping in mind that you never have to do anything, you just need to do what is best and right for you. And so when we have these questions of, do I have to? What comes to mind, and really the biggest question that I have here is, where's that coming from? That idea, that question of, do I have to? Is that coming from your ego or your inner voice, your higher self? And just as a review, in case you're new to the Unstuck Entrepreneur podcast, when I reference the ego, that ego voice, I'm talking about that mental chatter that's kind of always going on in your mind. It's the one that's like saying things that really to keep you safe is this ultimate goal, but it's coming from that conscious mind that is warning you of things and making you rethink things, reconsidering things, making you overthink things. It's that mental chatter. We all know it. As soon as I say those words, it's like, oh yeah, that thing, that voice that is constantly going on in my head. Got it. And then we have the intuition, the inner voice, your higher self. And that is that calm knowing that calm feeling, that calm potentially voice. We all have different ways that we connect to this side of us. And that has this whole different feel to it. As I mentioned, it's calm, it's this knowing, and that is kind of the opposite of your ego voice. We all have both, obviously. And so this conversation is really talking about getting in touch with both of those to figure out what is best for you. And so when I hear the question, do I have to XYZ, could be anything after those words, my thought is, okay, that is what the ego is telling you. That is where we are coming from. That is that voice, that mental chatter coming through and is really taking over this whole situation. So then the question becomes, why? Why is this a have to situation? Why don't you want to use social media? What is becoming heavy about this? Why has your ego gotten involved in this situation? What is making it feel this way? And when the ego gets involved in something like this, really everything basically, it is because it is taking in all of these 3D surroundings, like what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what everyone's telling you to do, all this outside information. It's taking in all of that and making up a story about it. And then that story is how you are now seeing that thing, feeling about that thing, and doing about that thing. So you have now made up a story and are living in that story. And when I say you, I mean your ego. And that happens in all areas of our lives. And social media is no different. And going back to what I said earlier about how we do log on to any platform these days, and we can see people who are being really successful in their business because of social media and having all this success and posting every day and having all this engagement and growing their following and all this stuff. So then your ego is taking that in, creating a story around it. When that's not happening for you, there's another story around it. And we have this big, huge fake reality that we're now living in about ourselves and about our business and about social media and how it works for us. And so now you have this story. Your ego is telling you that it's hard, it's pointless, it's time consuming, that the algorithm is out to get you, that no one sees your stuff anyway, so why bother? Anything that you are hearing yourself say in that regard, any of these kind of negative, low vibe thoughts that you're having around social media, I would say 99.99% of them are coming from your ego. And coming from that fake story, that fake reality that your ego has made up for you, that you are now living in. You are fully in that bubble. But then we also have that other piece of ourselves, your inner self, your intuition, your inner voice, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. It's that inner knowing, that inner voice. What does that voice know to be true about you sharing on social media? So when you quiet that chatter, when you get out of that fake reality and you just sit with it and you just dive into the truth, you don't listen to that voice that's on the top. I always see it as like surface level and then deep inside. So you're beyond the surface level chatter. And now you're getting in touch with the deeper side of yourself. What's there? What is that voice saying, or that knowing, or that feeling? What is there? And you may very well have that inner feeling, that nudge, or that knowing that your place is not on social media, that that's not the path to grow your business, that you do not have to be there to grow your business. You can use another platform, you can be somewhere else, you can do other things. You have that knowledge of your business and yourself already within you, and that may be what comes up as soon as you get past that surface level mental chatter. But you may also have that inner feeling, that nudge or that knowing that sharing your work with the world through social media is a great way to reach and help even one more person. That may be what your inner voice tells you when you can connect with it. I don't know the answer, ultimately. I don't have that answer. Only you can know that. I will tell you that no, you don't have to do anything for your business. You just have to do what feels right and best and fun for you. And that is what comes from your inner voice, your inner knowing. But what I can do, since I don't have the answer, what I can do is help you calm your ego down a little bit so that you have better access to that own answer for yourself. And we'll do that today just by me kind of negating some of the stories that you may be experiencing. But ultimately, what I think is best to get you there if you can't tap into that and you're stuck in that surface level spot is meditation, deep breathing, journaling, all the things that I talk about all the time when we're talking about the mindset and energy work needed for our entire life, including our business. Those tools will work to just get that surface level ego talk out of the way so that you can tap into that deeper knowing. But let's chat about some kind of specific things that you might be or your ego might be telling you about social media. And let me also be clear right now on how I feel about social media. I think a lot of you already know this. I've done some episodes about social media. I talk about this a lot in my coaching programs. And this is coming from a straight, logical, 3D strategic business perspective. I've said it before. I'll keep saying it over and over again. Social media is the icing on your business building cake. It is the cherry on top. It's not the cake. It's not the ice cream. It's not the eggs and the flour and the sugar that go into that cake. It is not the end all be all to your business. It is certainly not what you should be relying on to make your income. And if you are, then it's time to branch out and create another platform that is in your control that you can use to make money in your business. And you should absolutely have your email list be one of those things. And the reason I say this is because your following is not yours. You have absolutely zero control over what happens to the content that you put on social media. The second that you hit publish, it immediately becomes not yours. You have about 0.2 seconds of every one that it is shown to, that the algorithm has decided to show it to. You have 0.2 seconds to capture someone's attention before they scroll by. There's just a lot that is out of your control. Literally everything that is out of your control. So leaving your income up to something like that sounds like a terrible idea. I think we can all agree on that. Not a good plan, right? And I'm not going to get into how to strategically use social media to enhance your business here, but I have already done that on an episode not too long ago, episode 140. It's entitled Creating Your Simplified Marketing Plan. Go back and listen to that. I will explain in detail how you can use social media because it is the cherry on top. It is the frosting. No one wants to eat a cake without frosting, right? You still want to have this as a piece of your business, but it is not everything. If you really had to, you could eat that cake plain without frosting, maybe even plain cake. That's fine. You would eat that and be fine. You'd still enjoy it. It'd still be good. It just wouldn't be as good as if you had that frosting. That's how we want to think about social media. And I have your whole plan created for you over in episode 140. Not going to get into that here on this episode. I also want you to know that I totally get where you are at right now if you are someone that is struggling to show up on social media. I get it. I get that they can feel heavy. I get that they can feel pointless. I get that they are changing literally every day, that they aren't what they used to be, that engagement is down, that it's harder to get seen and get followers and all that stuff. I get it. That is what is going on. And that is what your ego is using to create the story that you now have. I understand. I mean, remember, I just started a brand new Instagram account for my business last year. And that was after spending, I think, over 9 years probably building up my former account, having 25,000 engaged followers over there, and then starting this brand new business direction and brand new business account and having to start from the bottom and work my way up. And I know what it feels like to not get engagement. I know what it feels like to share something on your stories and not have anyone respond. I know how that feels. So I understand that story that your ego is trying to tell you. Now for me, just to get into kind of where I'm at with it, maybe this will help you. I also still intuitively know that social media is somewhere that I will keep showing up for my business. I know that that is still a part of my business plan from an inner knowing place, regardless of what my ego is trying to tell me right now. Yes, I have those moments, I have those days, I have those weeks where my ego is kind of like having a fit. It's like in this weird space and I don't want to do it, but I still know deep down that I actually do want to be there, that I actually do want to be connecting with people in that way, and that it is a good use of my time, even if my ego is telling me exactly the opposite. So why? How do I know that? How did I get there? First of all, I know from a very deep down soul purpose that I have the mission of helping people. I know that. Every cell in my body knows that. And so if that means that's one person that day, that post, that week, great. That's one person. That's amazing. So I don't need to have thousands of followers for it to be quote unquote worth it to post on social media. I don't need to get hundreds of likes for it to be worth it. I don't need to get all the engagement in the world to know that I'm doing what my soul, what my whole being is here to do, which is to help people. One person, 10 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people, whatever it is. My goal is still being accomplished by me posting and getting 1 like or getting 10 likes, having 1 person comment or share. That's still doing what I am here to do. So that is why I know from this very deep down perspective, no matter what my ego wants to tell me, that I still need to be on there, that I still want to be on there because that is me living out my purpose while I am here on this planet. And then the second thing, I've found a way of posting to social media that I enjoy. My ego really wants to step in and start creating these stories and start being more, being louder when I'm not enjoying something, when I'm not enjoying anything. If it starts feeling heavy or hard, that I don't want to do it, that's my ego getting involved. And the only reason it's getting involved is because I've stopped enjoying it and I've stopped doing what's fun. And so that is my sign, that's my signal to go back to doing what I enjoy. As long as I'm enjoying myself, then I can stay in touch with my intuition. I know that feeling, that inner knowing, what I am connecting to there. It's strong. It's there as long as I am enjoying myself. When I'm not, hello, mental chatter. And then the third thing is that I am secure in my business with or without social media. I have done the work. I have had the consistency. I have had the patience to build a business that works with or without social media. So I'm not relying on this one thing for anything other than to enhance what I'm already doing in my business and to create connections with people, which is fun. And again, part of my purpose. If I were relying on social media to get people on my email list or to get people to buy from me, to get people to sign up for something for my income, it would give it so much weight, so much pressure. It would make it mean something more than it should. And then once again, my ego would turn up its volume, start getting involved, and really create a gigantic story around it that I don't know if I could ever get out of. Because that's just like a ton of pressure and expectation around something that shouldn't have that. That's just not how it should be laid out for you and your business. So those are the 3 things that I do to make sure that I am able to stay connected to doing what's right for me around the subject of social media. And I share this because I think that this is a good way for you to do your own ego check to see if your ego has potentially gotten in the way on the subject of social media also. So this is a really good journaling exercise. I would definitely get out some paper, get out your journal, and spend some time here. First thing, what is your ego saying about social media? You should go to town on this. I want you to get out every single thought, feeling, experience, annoyance, grievance, whatever you have about social media, put it out onto paper. Get it all out. What is your ego saying about social media? You could have like pages. I think if we really get into it, we all probably have like pages of annoyances or grievances or whatever about social media. Next, once you've gotten that out, it's called the ego dump, as I like to say. Once you've gotten that done, now why is it saying that? So what would make it freak out right now? Knowing that everything you just wrote down, all those emotions and those feelings and the reasons why you don't want to be on social media are coming from your ego and coming from that false story that you've created. Why? Why did it go there? Why is it freaking out? I mean, is it saying that because you haven't found a way to make it enjoyable? Like it's not fun anymore? Are you saying that because you're putting too much pressure on what happens there? Is it saying that because you're making it mean something more than it actually does? Like those things that I just talked about why I can actually tap into and stay connected to what I really want to be doing with social media and why I want to be doing it. If you've lost that, then figure out why. And then once you've figured out why, then you have something to work on. You have a focal point to change. You can change how you are approaching it, how you are thinking it, what else you're doing in your business that it can make it feel like less pressure, ways that you can show up that make it fun. And so really doing that exercise so you can find out like what's getting in the way right now is so helpful because then you have something to change instead of just continuing to do something that feels off over and over and over again and expecting something else to come of it. That's not going to happen. So a few things going back to me trying to potentially calm your ego a little bit, a few things I want to share. First of all, the engagement that you do or don't get on social media does not say anything about you or your business or your ability to be successful or how much money you're capable of making or anything like that. Your business is not doomed because you're struggling with social media or you're not getting the engagement that you want or you're not getting the followers that you want. None of that has anything to do with you or what you're capable of or what you're worthy of or anything like that. If I'm being totally honest and having some real talk, some true tough love, then what that means if you're not getting engagement on social media, if you're not gaining followers on social media, if your stuff's not being shown, like if the algorithm isn't showing it to your people or to people outside of your audience to get them interested, it's because you're not creating content that is interesting. That's all there is to it. Your audience isn't interested, potentially. The algorithm thinks your audience won't be interested in it, so it's not showing it to people. I mean, the reality is, yes, Reels are being prioritized on Instagram, for instance. And the reason is because those are the posts that people are interested in. I mean, we can talk all day about how we don't like video. We wish it were just going back to a photo app and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're probably watching some videos on Instagram as a consumer. We all are, because that's what gets us to stop our scroll. And that is what Instagram wants. And so that is what the algorithm is prioritizing. If people didn't watch the Reels, if they weren't getting that interest, they wouldn't be prioritizing them. They would go back to prioritizing photos if photos were capturing people's attention, but they're not. So that is not the algorithm's fault. It's not punishing you because you're posting a square photo. It's just that that is not what people are interested in. Your followers, or people that would become your followers, your dream clients that are out there not following you right now, they're not engaging in the post that you are creating. And so Instagram is not giving them the option to see them because they don't think they'll be interested in it. That's all there is to it. I promise you, the algorithm is not out to get you. If you actually work with the algorithm and if you actually see it as something that could help you get more followers, it will do that. It will reward you. The algorithm is way smarter than any of us, than any human. It will help you. It wants you to be successful. It wants everyone to be successful on social media. I mean, whether you're on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, they all have their own algorithms, obviously. It wants you to do well. It wants everyone to do well. But you have to work with it. You have to be willing to change, willing to adapt, willing to grow and evolve along with what people want. And as I said, the algorithm is going to feed people what they are already engaging in. And right now, that is video. And if I'm continuing on with some real talk, because this is where I just get really passionate, because I want you to succeed so deeply, that when I look at people who are struggling with social media and they're still posting, they're still making an attempt, I see a couple things. First of all, I see people who are still doing what worked like 7 years ago on Instagram, for example, and not adapting, not growing, not changing with what is happening with that social media platform, with the environment of social media overall. They're not adapting. And so that's not working anymore. This is something that is going to evolve over and over and over again, almost like by the day. If you are someone who is doing Reels, and if you're not, but you are willing to try and willing to get started, I'm going to do a whole episode really soon just on Reels and potentially TikTok too. Maybe in the same episode, maybe two separate ones. I haven't decided yet. I have so much to say about both. But what you will see is that the trends and what is popular, what is working, even with Reels, changes like weekly. It used to be, like dancing and then pointing at words. And then it became doing like lip syncing type stuff. And then now it's just like having almost like this B-roll, like this background footage with like words over the top. And that was, popular on TikTok a while ago. And then now TikTok's changing. I mean, you just got to be willing to adapt and willing to grow and willing to change. And the cool thing is that's what's fun. Like if you're actually seeing it for what it is and working with it instead of trying to do something that worked like 5 or 7 years ago, and working with it and understanding that when you work with it, it works with you. It's kind of fun. I promise it can be fun. So I see people either doing what worked and hoping it will still work, and it's just not going to work anymore because that was so long ago. I mean, like 5 years in social media is like 25 years in regular life. You got to keep up with what's going on. I see that, or I see people who are clearly posting because they have to. Like, there is nothing more obvious to me than a post that is done out of having to and a post that is done out of wanting to. You guys, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just now log on to whatever social media you consume the most, log on and start scrolling, and you will be able to pick out the have-tos versus the want-tos, and the have-tos there's far more of them. And you can just tell they're like, the energy's not the same. They're either like boring, or just like, if it is someone that is on camera, like their energy isn't right. It's not there. It's not genuine. Something about it isn't right. So I see those two things very, very, very often. And then, you do those kinds of things, and then you get frustrated when it's not working, and you think the algorithm is against you, and you think there's no point, and all these things that your ego is telling you, when in reality, if you just got real with yourself, you would see, it's because what I'm posting really isn't that interesting. It's really not that engaging. People really aren't going to stop their scroll to consume this, if I'm really being honest with myself. And it might take you that exercise. You might need to do that in order to make it start working for you and making it fun. When you stop coming from this place of having to and just going through the motions, and you really think, how can I make this a fun part of my business? It is. I promise it is. It really can be. And especially if you don't have that attachment of, well, if this only gets 3 likes, then I'm not going to have fun with it anymore. If you can detach from that, then you really do have the chance of making it fun. And that's my second point that I wanted to say is, what would happen for you if you were able to clear that whole giant fake story that you've been telling yourself around social media, and clear it out and move to a place of getting to connect with people all over the world and share what you love to do, getting to help one person with the post that you shared that day, getting to market your business to your dream clients for free, right? Wow, what an opportunity. There's so many opportunities within that when you get out of that have to place and move into that get to place. And all know probably by now that I love Reels. Already talked about them in this episode. And I do think they can be really fun, and they are really engaging, and people do watch them. Even if we're all thinking we're against video, people are watching them. And so they are a really great way to get engagement and to grow your audience when you do them correctly. I want to say, like, there is no right or wrong, but there are just some simple things that should be happening in your Reels to really make them engaging, with or without you in them. You don't even have to be on the video for them to work for you. Again, whole episode coming about that. But you don't have to do that. Maybe you love sharing inspiring quotes that are relevant to the work you do. Maybe you love showing your beautiful meals, or your challenging workouts, or your self-care routine, or what you do in the mornings to prepare for the day. You don't have to do these things, these like outrageous posts every single time. You just have to show what you love and what you do and what could help someone else. And sharing that stuff is fun. It is helpful for someone else, and it can be and should be fun for you. As soon as you get your ego out of the way, as soon as that whole environment that you've created, that story that you've created is gone, then you can get back to doing what is fun and sharing what you enjoy, knowing that it's going to help someone else, and do it in a way that feels good for you. And even if that's not video, like even if you refuse to do a reel, to do a video, to like show your plate of food in a video versus a photo, which really is like the same thing, but works totally different in the social media world. But even if you refuse, because you are in that place of get to and want to and excited to, and you are willing to share what you love, what you do, and who you help with others out there in the world, it will show up differently. It will work differently. And I promise you the algorithm will feed into that energy that you just put into that post, which is totally different than the have to, the like should place, totally different energy, and it will work for you. And then my last point is to remember that this is the icing on the cake. Please, please, please remember to build a business that is fine with or without social media. Have at least one long-term platform. Like I said, go back and listen to episode 140 to figure out what those are. But for example, it'd be like a podcast where you are getting in front of a new audience, a YouTube channel where you're getting in front of a new audience, a blog where you're using SEO to get in front of a new audience via Google or Pinterest, something like that. That is a long-term platform, because that content that you're creating for those platforms will go on to build your business for years and years and years and years to come, when done correctly, of course. And that is a big caveat. There is, it's not enough just to post, like a blog post and hope people will eventually find it. There's strategy involved. There's things you have to do. These are all things that we go over in a Holistic Business Starter. If that's something you're interested in, you can check that out at shawnmynar.com/business. But yeah, these are things that you have to consider, and you have to really put the energy into creating over the long haul for your business as it grows, and thinking long term about it. And then social media is your short-term platform. It's like, what you share is good for like that day, pretty much, if that. And then it goes into this never-ending abyss of content on that platform. So that's more short-term. That gets people interested in you and what you're doing right away. So have that long-term platform. Learn how to do that thing really, really, really well. It takes the pressure off of thinking that you have to be on social media to grow your business, because then you really can see it as that icing on the cake. And when that pressure is gone, when you can see how your business is growing and developing, even if you don't post on social media that day or that week or that month, then it's kind of amazing, that shift that can happen. And it all happens because your ego is quiet. You don't have that story that you're replaying in your head over and over again, because one of those things that is a trigger for your ego is gone. Like that trigger of it being so important for your business and being like the thing that will grow your business or, make your business fall apart. When you don't have that pressure, then your ego can take a back seat, and then you can just do what feels best for you and post what feels good and have fun with it and enjoy it. And that is when that inner knowing comes out, and it's a totally different ball game. So remember, icing on the cake, find that long-term platform as well. Lastly, to wrap this all up, to go back to the actual question, because like I said, I told you I was going to probably do way more than answer that question, because there's just a lot that comes up with that idea of have to. Like this question could be, do I have to have a website? Do I have to have an email list? Do I have to have a podcast? That could be anything. And the answer really is always the same. Like, go back and listen to this episode, and instead of social media, put in anything else that you're wondering if you have to do. And the answer is still the same, because at the end of the day, if your intuitive answer is no to having a social media presence, if you know from that inner knowing that social media isn't right for you and your business and not needed, that is great. That is excellent. Yes, that's amazing. If that is the answer that you got, then you can just as easily get the answer of what is right for you, because you have that knowing now of what isn't, which means you just as easily have that knowing of what is. What is your path? How will you reach the right people? How will you make sales? What will you do? I mean, it could be, just focusing on that long-term platform, which works for tons of people. By the way, there are plenty of very successful business owners who do not use social media at all. So keep that in your back pocket for when that ego voice gets really loud and you really truly know with every fiber of your being that you are not meant to be on social media. There are other ways. That long-term platform, it could be maybe using paid advertising, like Instagram ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, something like that. It could be just doing more in-person events like conferences and workshops and things like that, maybe in your area or maybe virtually, and attending those and then doing some networking around that. And that's how you grow your audience. There are so many options beyond social media, but you just have to get that knowing for yourself one way or the other. All right, my friends, and with that, I will close out this episode about social media. But like I said, this will not be the last. I am in the works now on an episode about Reels and an episode on TikTok, which, like I said, may or may not make the same episode. I have to see how much I have to share, but those are coming up soon. And other than that, be sure to head over to Instagram, which is my main social media platform of choice and where I have the most fun and where I love to connect with all of you. Head over there at Shawn Mynar. That is now my new Instagram handle, at Shawn Mynar, and just let me know what you've taken from this episode. If there's any way that I can help, if you have any other questions, happy to do that over on the DMs there. And until next time, take care. Hey friend, real quick before you go, don't forget to head over to my website and take the quiz to find out your solopreneur personality type. I've created a super fun, super informative 2-minute quiz that will show you which one of the 4 solopreneur personality types you fall into. Could it be the boss, the socialite, the visionary, or the supporter? Which one are you? Not only is it just fun to know more about yourself, especially as it relates to your business, but it's also really important information so you can be sure that you're building a business that works for you based on your energy, your personality, and your desires. Did you ever take those quizzes from the Cosmopolitan magazine back in the day? It's kind of like that, but with actual solid questions and real helpful tips and advice at the end. You can find the What's Your Solopreneur Personality Type quiz right on the homepage of my website at shawnmynar.com. Head there now to take the quiz, then let me know over on Instagram at UnstuckEntrepreneur what your type is. I'll see you over there.